Yeah, we're hoping we fixed all the problems that we had from last season. We had a great off season and a great preseason camp. Obviously, they threw, I think it was 371 yards against us last year. Um, we've worked really, really hard with our communication on the back end, which is the back seven. Um, we've worked obviously on fundamentals, and this kid's a good quarterback. He's a pocket guy that's looking to dissect the coverage. Um, we think that our man cover skills are better this year. We think our zone cover skills are better. So, yeah, it's been a conscious effort for the entire back seven to make sure this season doesn't repeat itself from last season.
Didn't hear my name called, but I got unmuted here, so I think I'm up, Terry. It's Tyler down
Sorry,
here.
I was muted, Tyler. My bad. Go ahead.
Hi, Terry. Thanks for doing this today. Appreciate it. Wanted to get into Joey Porter and his ascension up the depth chart. How was he able to overcome that kind of deficit of game experience compared to some of the other guys he was competing against? And ultimately, what tipped it in his favor to beat out guys like Keaton and Marquise for the number one job?
Yeah, Joey worked really hard this offseason, and I think the number one thing that Joey brought this year was consistency. Each day in practice, he showed up and he guarded who we think are our best receivers here at Penn State and did a great job. And, we track every ball that's thrown at our back end guys. And, he's consistently graded out, at the very top of it. So, we're just happy with his progression. He's still young in the game. But we're excited about him. He brings such length, such athleticism. He can run. His arm span is as long as our defensive ends, which, he's very, very long and athletic. So we're excited about him this Saturday and this season, and he's earned it.
Hey, Coach, this is Greg Pickle from Penn Live. How are you today?
Good, thanks. How you doing, Greg?
I'm doing well. Thanks so much for your time. I'm just curious, obviously in a normal year, you'd have maybe some spring scrimmage film or some other things that you'd be able to use to prepare for a team. Obviously not the case this year. Some of the guys talked about this week that it didn't really change much for them, but I'm just curious from a coaching and game day perspective, will it change some of the things you might have to adjust if they put some guys out there you've never seen before? Or how do you see that maybe impacting or perhaps not impacting game day?
Well, first and foremost, you want to make sure your team is right. So we want to make sure Penn State is fundamentally sound. We want to make sure the things that we want to do well, we want to master those things. And then obviously when we get to a game plan and get into a game, the first game's always the most difficult one because teams try to correct anything that went wrong the previous year. So they're going to come out and have some different wrinkles. They're going to change some things. And, that's where you got to rely on your base fundamentals and go out and execute. Right now, our goal as a defense is, no mental errors. We can't have a blown coverage. We can't have a miscommunication where a gap is not assigned. So, we're just working on those base fundamentals. And, we feel like if we don't make mistakes, it's tough for us to lose a game.
Joe Giuliano, Philadelphia Inquirer.
Good morning, Terry. Thanks for your time. I know practices at Penn State are always a competition, no matter who's on offense, who's on defense. But it seems, do you feel that with your young defensive backs, your young cornerbacks, and the young wide receivers, that these practices have been a little more competitive than you've seen?
Yeah, everyone's fighting for a job. And it's what have you done for me lately? And those guys are competing. And, like I said, we track, all of the targets at the DBs as well as the offensive side tracks all the balls thrown at their guys and their catch percentages and, who's winning the one-on-one matchups, because essentially that's what football comes down to is a one-on-one matchup. Can this receiver beat this DB or this linebacker to get open? So, whoever's winning the most battles is going to, eventually have the most success. So there's a ton of competition. Compete is one of our core values. It's always been here at Penn State. And, when guys come into the locker room here, it's one of those things that's you don't really have to talk about, but it's understood that this is how we go about our work. This is how we go about handling our daily business. And, we just compete at a level that most programs can't.
Go to Nubias Wilborn, Pittsburgh Post-Gazette.
Coach, when you look at the overall package from from Indiana, their receivers, what have you noticed as you've been breaking them down over the last few days and few weeks really now?
Well, obviously their two best receivers, Fillmore and Freifogel. Excuse me if I didn't pronounce them right, but those two guys are dynamic receivers. Wap is the slot. He's a great horizontal runner and vertical runner. He's dangerous with the ball in his hands. They obviously want to get the ball in his hands. And when you're in the slot, you got two-way go. You can cross the field or you can work the outside of the field as well as he can work the field vertically. So he's a tough matchup for us. And then Freifogel is a vertical guy. He's an outside perimeter guy that works the fade and back shoulder. And the back shoulder is the toughest ball to defend in football. And that's something that those guys have mastered. So we know they're going to throw that. We're going to be well prepared for it. And we're going to make these guys earn everything they get. So if they have a great day, they're going to have to be All-Americans on Saturday.
Tyler Donahue, Lions 247.
Terry, a couple days ago, James told us regarding the red, yellow, green light deal with freshmen. You throw all that out the window with the current circumstances and the pause on the NCAA eligibility clock. What does that do for your coaching staff, and does that open the book a bit for what you might be able to accomplish and digging down that roster, down the depth chart when injuries pop up or performance-related things pop up? And additionally, just tapping into your recruiting coordinator gig, with this whole process and third-year freshmen being a thing next year because of it, how is it going to kind of impact the way you approach personnel decisions?
Yeah, well, initially for the season, everyone's eligible to play immediately. Obviously this year it doesn't count as a year toward their eligibility. But with the COVID-19, you have to be prepared. So your third guy on the depth chart or your fourth guy on the depth chart or even your fifth guy on the depth chart has to be prepared, because with the Big Ten policy of 21 days out, if you test positive, that's 3 games. And if there's contact tracing and things like that, you may end up losing a few guys. And now all of a sudden you're on your fourth corner or your fifth corner. Those guys have to be prepared. So, we're not looking to obviously redshirt anyone. We've got to have everyone prepared and ready. And as we move forward, we're going to continue to recruit the way we have been recruiting, bring guys in. And, we don't feel like it's going to directly impact us because we have such a small senior class. So the way the NCAA is saying with the exemption of the scholarships, I don't know if we have 9 or 10 seniors, then we can oversign by 9 or 10 because those guys have the right to come back. Some teams may have 20 seniors and then they can oversign by 20. So, we're just going to recruit the way we've been recruiting, and, competition is always here. So that doesn't really phase the recruits that we're actually recruiting.
Greg Pickle, Penn Live.
Coach, you mentioned the need to be prepared and also the sit-out plan that's in place for players. There's also one for coaches, of course. It's not quite as long. But as the assistant head coach, would you become the acting head coach if Coach Franklin would have to miss time? And how is the staff prepared for that potential scenario, considering everything that's going on heading into this season?
Yeah, well, we have some contingency plans in place. Whether I take over or one of the coordinators takes over, that decision will be made, upon whenever that time and need. But there are contingency plans. We do have a strategy of if Coach Pry was out, who would step in, if the offensive coordinator, and on down the line, there is a plan. I'm not going to share it.
Rich Garcella, Reading Eagle.
Terry, you of course have had a history with this program. Can you hear me?
I hear you.
Okay, you have a history with this program, and I was just wondering. You mentioned the athleticism of the secondary. How does it compare with the ones that you have played with, watched, and coached? And has there been any more athletic? And I know you have a vested interest with Justin in here, so I'm sure he'll hear this answer.
I honestly think, as a whole, the back end, both safety spots and corner spots, I think this group has the chance to be the very best.
Oh.
When you look at length, the two corners, Tariq and Joey Porter, are both 6'1" plus, which is hard to find. They're both very fast. They're both very athletic, and create great length. And then you look at the safety position with Jaquan Brisker and Lamont Wade and their experience that they bring. I think we have an opportunity that I don't know if at one point in Penn State's career, I'm going to go on a limb and say it's never happened. You guys can fact check me. All four of those guys are going to be drafted into the NFL. I don't know if Penn State's ever had a secondary that had four guys from the same secondary be drafted. Check that because I want to be accurate, but I think that's a fact because we haven't had a lot of history as DBs getting drafted into the NFL. So, these guys are talented, and Lamont Wade leads us. He's a great communicator. He's the quarterback of the secondary. He's getting everybody lined up. Tariq has played a ton of football. He's primed and ready to have a great senior season. And then everyone's going to get introduced to Jaquan Brisker. He's going to be a household name after week one. He had a phenomenal offseason. He's big, he's strong, he's fast, he's athletic, he's a playmaker. The ball finds him, he can tackle. And then, we've already talked about Joey Porter. So we're excited about this secondary and the possibilities. And, and then we have guys that are going to come off the bench and play pivotal roles like Daquan Hardy. He had a great camp. We have Keaton Ellis, who we all know what he did last year, and he has an opportunity to get out there and do some things. And Marquise Wilson, who had a big interception in the bowl game, he's going to contribute. And, we got Jair at the safety spot and Jonathan Sutherland. Those guys are all going to contribute at one point or another. So we're excited that this could be a very good secondary for us, but time will prove it. And, we're just anxious to get out there and see if our hard work is paying off.
Dave Eckert.
Hi, Terry. How you doing?
Very good, thanks.
I wanted to ask you about Parker Washington. From your perspective, what kind of challenges is he going to pose to opposing defenses?
I love Parker Washington. I mess with him every day, mentally with him. So he's had a great camp. I mean, the kid is the maturity to come in and put himself in a position immediately to impact our team, is a tribute to him and his hard work and his dedication and commitment to our team and to himself. He's shifty. He's quick. He's got great hands. He's strong. He competes. He's very humble. He's tough. And I'm just excited to see him play Saturday against someone else other than us. I think he obviously, as a youngster, he's got a game experience, but I don't see him faltering under the lights, so to speak. I see him as a star just each week rising to the occasion. So we're excited about him. I like the kid a lot, and just looking forward to him contributing.
Joe Giuliano, Philadelphia Inquirer.
Terry, you mentioned in your first question about the back seven, seeing improvement in the back seven, but 5 of them are new starters. Are you concerned that, playing against another team, at least at the start, will be a little bit of a, kind of a, blending in thing? Once, like you said, once the lights come on, do you think they'll be ready to go?
I sure hope so. That's the question that remains. We don't know until we kick off, and that first hit happens, that first play happens, and everything that's led us up to this point, we feel really good and confident about these guys. But time will tell. There's oftentimes guys get out there and the lights get to them. I don't think that's going to happen to our guys, but Saturday at 3:30 or 3:35, whatever time kickoff is, we'll find out. But we'll be prepared. Mentally, we'll be locked in and ready. And then it's just about going out and executing what our game plan is.
Time for a few more. Tyler Donahue, Lions 247.
Terry, I would expect that Keaton Ellis and Marquise Wilson spent a lot of this year envisioning their name at the top of that depth chart where Joey's is now. How did you inform those guys, the group at large, that Joey had earned the spot opposite of 3 Castro Fields? And how do you maintain, how do you keep them maintained knowing they're going to play a lot of football this year for you?
Well, I'm very transparent in my room. Every step of the way, those guys know where everyone stands. And we watch the film together each day. And, maybe every week and a half, we rank our room together. And so there's no secrets in the room. Everyone saw how consistent Joey Porter and the playmaking he's created each day. It was evident. And they voted him a starter as well. So it's an easy decision when you're transparent. There's no secrets in my room. My guys love it because they know where they stand and they know where they need to improve. None of us are perfect, but we're all trying to work to be a perfect piece. And there's complete harmony in the room. Those guys get it and understand it, and they're going to play a lot of football for us. And these guys know you have to bring consistency. And that's the beauty of having, Keaton and Marquise and Daquan Hardy there, that those guys can step in and play immediately. If Joey's not getting it done or Tariq's not getting it done, we're going to put the best kid out there to get it done. And so the competition's right. But those guys knew from day one when they saw the transformation of Joey, they voted him the same way we see it.
Tobias Wilborn, Pittsburgh Post-Gazette.
Coach, DB is such a tough position to recruit and then as well as coach up. You mentioned you guys not having much of a history with having a lot of DBs going to the league. Where's that change, and how do you think that's changed among getting players and then now making it where you're not this linebacker, you're starting to become, another part of it as well?
Yeah, so in our 6 years here, we've done a tremendous job, with DB performance and going into the NFL. Right now we have 8 guys on rosters, DBs in the NFL, which is ranks in the top 10 of colleges out there. We have a 9th kid, Jordan Lucas, who opted out of the NFL but was an active guy, played on the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs last year. So he would have made the 9th guy. And then we just talked about this secondary that we have, that we feel all 4 of those guys will get drafted. So we've built a great nucleus for the back end guys here, and we're just continuing to recruit long athletic guys that can run, that can track the ball, that are tough, smart, and then just trying to coach them up, trying to mentor them, trying to develop them, and and have them ready for the moment that when they step out there, much like Marquise stepped out there in the bowl game and has an interception to seal the game. against Memphis. So, we recruit really well, and we recruit a certain kind of kids mindset that fits here, and ready for the challenges.
Last question, Greg Pickle, Penn Live.
Hey, Coach, how would you assess the recruiting class so far this year and what you guys have been able to accomplish? And what does it mean to get back on the field and maybe take away some of the thoughts that, the Big Ten wasn't playing that we've heard Coach Franklin talk about, and be able to say, here's what we're doing on offense, here's what we're doing on defense, and so on and so forth as you move forward, both in this class and future classes?
Yeah, we're really happy with the class. Obviously we want to finish this class up really strong. We've got a handful of spots left out there to grab still. And we're happy with those guys. Speaking, I'm the defensive recruiting coordinator as well. On the defensive side, we're extremely pleased with the guys that we have committed to us. We're trying to close out a couple more guys that'll be important to this class. And, if we get the targeted guys, we'll be through the roof with excitement. So, we're just chipping away at this thing, and we're happy to get back on the field because that's our number one marketing piece. 3 of the last 4 seasons we've won 11 football games, and kids want to be around winning, around success. So, the more we can get out on the field and show them what it's like to be here at Penn State, the better for us. So, we can't wait to kick this game off on Saturday. We're just excited. We're blessed for the opportunity, through this COVID-19 to, be able to have a season and play.